Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on doing benchmarking study in 30 minutes. I think we now are in pretty exciting times when AI and technology are transforming our profession, and that's why we decided to connect with you and to show the most state-of-the-art, the most exciting stuff that we have on how to do benchmarks much faster and also take the quality of the benchmarking studies to the next level. My name is Borys, and I'm a founder and CEO of ArmsLength AI. I started this company around 10 months ago with an ambition to bring AI technology to our profession, to the transfer pricing world, and to transform the way we work. The main goal that we have in mind is enabling transfer pricing professionals deliver high quality results in record time, while also ensuring data security and data quality and integrity. And together with me today, Sven. Sven, over to you.
Hi, Borys, and thanks. Yeah, very excited to join Borys in this journey to create really a new way of performing benchmarks. I think this is an area where AI can deliver really great results, and that's why I'm very excited to join him in this journey. I'm Sven. I live in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and I've been working in. I have a background in finance and tax, but during my time at one of the big four, I quickly discovered that my passion for tech and data was well suited to answer clients' questions in a better way, a data-enabled and visualized way. And that's the reason why I also started my own company and try to bring this data-driven way of thinking to transfer pricing in a more scalable way. And now, together with Borys, we can add an AI layer on top of this, which makes it even more exciting.
Thanks, Sven, and thanks for joining me today and joining ArmsLength AI as a partner. So what we're going to talk about today and what we're going to show. The first point will be about the current benchmarking process, the traditional process that we've been doing for decades, and what are the main problems with it and what we want to focus on with the technology. Then we will do a 30-minute demo where we will do a benchmarking study from start to finish in the record time and also demonstrate how it works and how our technology can create the next level of documentation and support and prepare really defensible, high quality benchmarking studies that also make sense from economy perspective. And then we'll talk about just a summary of key benefits that it brings. And at the end, we will briefly talk about practical next steps that every transfer pricing or tax advisory firm can take to evaluate this technology and start adopting it. And now over to you, Sven, to walk us through the transfer pricing benchmarks process and some of the things that we should consider.
Yeah. So before diving into why AI is really suited for benchmarking, we want to quickly go through the current benchmarking process. And we've identified 5 steps that have to be taken in this process. And it starts with the database, of course. You get the data from a database. This can be Bureau van Dijk or Ryan or CompuStat. It doesn't really matter. Here you get the financial data and some qualitative data on the companies. You do this by defining a few filters. These filters are closely connected to the benchmark strategy that you adopt for the benchmark. So these are the industry codes, the independence, and maybe a geographical indication, something like that. And you can add more, of course. Once you've done that, you get the first set. This is the set you're going to extract, most likely from the database, and you're going to process further in another tool, probably Excel or a third-party tool. What you're going to do then is is applying a few automated filters. So you might want to limit the set to companies with a certain amount of revenue, certain number of employees, a few of those criteria, maybe no loss-making companies. And once you've done that, you have your final set that's going into the manual review. And this is really where the work is located. Because you're going to each and every company, you have to find information for each of them and see whether you can determine whether this company is comparable or not, whether it's suited for the analysis or not. So that's the process. But there are a few problems with this. One of the main problems is, of course, consistency. The question that you get as a junior analyst a lot is probably, hey, why did you accept this company, whereas you didn't accept this company, which has exactly the same functional profile, or the other way around? And even worse, you might get this question from your client directly as a manager, which is even worse. Another aspect of consistency is that you start the benchmark with good faith. You do it, you go through each website in great detail. But at the end of the week, the deadline is coming up, and you just need to make some decisions. And you might not make the decisions with the same amount of detail as at the beginning of that process, which results in inconsistent benchmarking. A funny thing is that someone told me that there are a disproportional amount of companies with a letter at the ending of the alphabet, because people tend to accept more companies at the end just because they need more comparables. They don't have sufficient number, or they don't go into great detail for the comparability analysis. So this is the first problem. This directly brings us to the next problem, which is basically time. You get the task to perform a lot of benchmarks, probably in a short time frame, which requires your team to go through so many comparables in a short amount of time, making it really hard. And at the same time, this puts a lot of pressure on your team, on your juniors to perform these benchmarks quickly, and this might further harm the quality of the benchmarks. So, and I guess we have a third, and we have a lot more challenges in the benchmarking process, but can you tell a bit more about another challenge, Borys?
Yes, for sure. And I think one more additional that I have heard just today from one of our customers is also the stability of the process. So your traditional benchmarking process requires a lot of human work. And in the situation where you have some turnover in your team and people are coming and leaving, you may face the situation where during the busy season, you actually don't have enough headcount to perform all the benchmarks that you need to do, which puts an additional pressure on the current team members. But going to the next one is the quality of the documentation and the quality of proof points. So imagine the situation, you do a benchmarking study in 2024, and then you hand it over to your customer or your client, and then this benchmarking study being accepted, and then after 5 or 7 years, it's reviewed by tax authorities and challenged during an audit. If you don't have a sufficiently robust documentation which demonstrates all the proof points that the benchmark was actually done, the manual review was completed, what was the information that you were using, how did you make various decisions, then it will be pretty easy for tax authorities to flip certain decisions, like change some companies that were rejected to accepted, or vice versa, and therefore change the range. And typically what you see in the benchmarks, they're not really well documented. You don't have a lot of supporting documentation. And the only documentation you have is like you have a company and then you have a decision, which is to accept or to reject. And then, for example, if it is rejected, then the description says not comparable product or different function. And that's basically all the documentation we have, right? And it's very challenging, especially after a few years when the team have changed. And even if you have the same team, it's very difficult to remember like what that problem was that comparable was. So it's extremely challenging to substantiate and defend such benchmarks in tax authorities, audits, and challenges if you don't have that good of documentation. And that's where we're coming to the main conclusion, basically. It seems that benchmarks overall is not the greatest business that tax advisory firms have. And there are a few reasons to that we have just discussed. So benchmarks overall take a long time. It's on average takes around 20 hours per one benchmark to complete. And in the situation where you're dealing with stringent human resources, you don't have huge teams now, and you have some turnover, and you need to pay, obviously, for the highly skilled workforce. It means that this translates into high costs for your business, which are the costs that are difficult to scale also within the year. You have a pretty inconsistent quality in your benchmarking studies, and the decisions that are made are often subjective, driven by fatigue and sometimes time pressure, and generally the audit trail is pretty weak and the documentation may not be ideal, which makes those type of projects having weak project economy. In other words, margins that those projects generate are not very big because you have a lot of costs, and the pricing pressure is pretty high. So some people say that benchmarks become a commodity. And then customer experience is generally also pretty mixed. So I have never heard multinationals saying that our benchmarks are great. Typically, you would just hear that our benchmarks are okay, and that's a better scenario. And then most of multinationals do have a lot of complaints about the quality of their benchmarks and do have a lot of horror stories even about the benchmarks experience that they have. And we truly believe that this situation or this setup needs to be changed, because we think that benchmark is still a valuable part of transfer pricing process, but we need to make changes. And that's where we come to the technology. We strongly believe that the technology is changing the rules of this game. And if we look at the typical steps of the benchmarking process that Sven walked us through, we have 5 steps from selecting appropriate database to the manual review. And if we look at the time spent per the step, it is clear that the manual review occupies around 90% of the time that is being spent in the benchmarking project. And at the same time, if you look at the expertise that needs to be applied and deep transfer pricing understanding and domain knowledge, it's not, the manual review is not the most important step, let's say. You would see many companies using less experienced employees to do those manual reviews. And while we believe that technology can actually transform and improve every step of benchmarking process, the core value is being created in this manual review process. And that's where we also believe that AI can work along with humans to really maximize the results, improve the quality, and substantially reduce the time. And that's where we want to actually show you how it works. So seeing is believing. And we will now show you how the real-life benchmark is being done with our technology. Here is the setup. We will be doing benchmarking study in 30 minutes maximum. Our customer and me and Sven will play a role of transfer pricing advisors in the professional services firm. I don't know, Sven, who of us will be manager, who will be consultant. It doesn't really matter because consultants don't need to do manual reviews anymore. Therefore, we all become managers. But yes, so our customer will be a large multinational firm headquartered in Europe with subsidiaries around the world. And this multinational will be providing marketing support services, and this headquarter company will be providing it to the subsidiaries worldwide. We brainstormed with Sven, and we decided that, well, it will make sense to search for comparable marketing service providers. We will use Moody's or BVD database because, well, presumably we have access to it already, and we will focus on Europe and this region for this benchmark. And now I will hand over to Sven to initiate the process and start the benchmark. So Sven, now time pressure. So imagine your manager just told you you have only 30 minutes to complete the benchmark.
Shit. Then I will hurry up. So we start with the source data. This is the file that we just extracted from the database. Probably well known to most of you. It contains a list of all the companies that have survived the first set of filters. In total, we're looking at, I'll change the source data, 150 companies. And we're going to use this as a starting point for our benchmark. So what we do is we go to the platform. We press on the Add Benchmark, and we define the name of the benchmark, which is marketing support services. We select the year and the client, which for this case will just be webinar. Then it will be added to the database or to the platform, and it will guide us through to the first page, which is this one. Here we can simply start the analysis. Once we're here, we have two options. We can either load all the companies manually, so we just copy and paste it to this table, which works really well. It's a super flexible option. Or alternatively, you can just upload the file, which we're going to do for this webinar. Once you've selected the file you want to use, you select the page that contains, or the sheet that contains the information, that contains the company set, which is in this case the final set. Here we select here we're going to do some mapping. So we indicate which names in the data in the file correspond to the names in our platform. So the company name Latin alphabet is company name in our platform. This is the database ID, the country, and we want to add the website. Then we have the option to also add financial data to the analysis. The reason why this is nice is that it allows the platform to perform certain calculations, TP relevant calculations, live during the selection process. So you see live feedback of your decisions or of the AI's decisions on the range that you will end up with, which gives you a lot more control and faster response time, and just makes it easier and more enjoyable to do the benchmarks. So here you do the same. You select which fields correspond to which fields in our platform. You also see the first row in the set, so you can directly check whether you're selecting the right column. So let me just quickly do this. Or this is tangible assets. Let me do it correctly. Intangible assets, total assets, number of employees. Probably an AI would be able to do this as well at some point in the future. And you don't have to do all of them, just do the ones that are relevant for your POI and the KPIs you want to analyze during the analysis. So now all of the companies have been loaded to the platform. So here you see a list of 150 companies. And what's nice is that it also indicates the status, whether something has been correctly loaded or whether some information is missing that's required for an analysis. Here you see that for a few companies, we missed the website. luckily, we have the option to let AI search for these websites. And we can do that by pressing on this button. So here, after pressing this, the AI will go to the internet and check if it can find a website for the companies for which the website is missing. So we were missing the website of 25 companies, and now within 10 to 20 seconds, the AI has performed all of these searches and found, for most of them, a relevant website. We're still missing for a few companies a website, so there's still some manual processing. You can check if there's indeed no website for that company available. If so, you can simply reject it based on the argument that no information is available for that selected company. Once we've done this, we can go to the next step, which is the AI web search. And this is really the area of expertise of Borys. So I want to hand it over to Borys.
Right. Thanks, Sven. Yeah, I'm tracking time. We have a time pressure. Yeah, let me go to the benchmarks because I'm now opening the same application from my computer. We have this marketing support services, which Sven was already working on. So we are working on the same benchmark at the same time, which is also pretty convenient for teams that are more than one person, which is most of TP teams. And what web search will be doing now, I will initiate the search for all of the companies that we have, all 150 of them. And it will tell me that some of them will be excluded just because there is no website for those companies identified, which is fine. We are confirming the launch. And then our application starts the analysis of those 141 companies. It takes around 4 to 5 minutes to analyze 100 companies. So this step in our case was 150 or rather 140 because some of them are not don't have a website, will take around 6 minutes. And what is actually happening in the background is that our application or our algorithms are reviewing the company websites of those potentially comparable companies. So it accesses the official website, it goes through different pages of that website, identifies the most relevant ones, takes information from those pages and the website, and then creates the detailed descriptions and the initial analysis of those companies with the help of AI. So I will now update the results, and as you see, we already have the first 3 companies that are completed, and most of them are still in progress. And let's see the first results, and let's see how these results look like. So I'm just showing you one of the examples. So we have one company called Alba Multimedia. And the descriptions that we're getting here are a detailed business description of the company, what this company is doing, under which name it operates, what kind of business it actually does. Then we have a specific column or specific data for what products or services does this company offer. We have a detailed description of the functions or activities this company is doing, because obviously function profile is rather a transfer pricing concept. So we are translating the general business knowledge about the company into something that is closer to the transfer pricing field. And we also have a structure and affiliation column, which actually explains if there is any information that may lead us to the conclusion that this company is not independent at the further steps of the analysis. So while I was talking, more companies were completed. We now at the count of 21. And while we still wait, what I will do, I will go to the next step and explain to you what the next step will look like. So after the web search analysis, we are getting detailed descriptions about each of the companies in our data set, what those companies are doing, what are their products, services, etc. But in transfer pricing benchmarking process, we also need to do the accept reject analysis. That's the ultimate goal, to select the comparables that are fit for purpose for our benchmarking study, so that are comparable to the tested party that we have. And how we will be doing that, we will be setting the accept reject criteria. So we basically need to tell the algorithm, our solution, what kind of companies do we want to accept, what kind of companies do we want to reject. We're doing that by defining what is ideal products and services to accept, what are products and services that need to be rejected, what is the ideal functional profile, and what are the functions and activities you want to reject. And the first approach is you just have this blank space and you just type this in natural language. So ideal product services to accept, marketing services, and perhaps you can explain like give examples of marketing services you want to accept, product services to reject, therefore products you want to reject. And the same for functional profile. It may be a little bit intimidating in the beginning because you just look at this blank space and don't know exactly what you want to provide. That's why we have a couple of other options. So we have a strategy. You can also use the strategy from library. So you may have your own library of different strategies, but we also provide a few examples of different strategies that you can use as a starting point or as an inspiration. We actually have a marketing services strategy here in our library, which lists what are services, and then it gives examples, and then it gives particular things of products and services to reject, what is ideal functional profile, service provider, and function activities to reject, manufacturing, retail, distribution. This is a typical strategy for marketing services, which you can now take and modify to your particular situation, because maybe you don't want to reject some particular service or want to reject them. And the other way is you can also use AI to create the strategy. This is called AI assistant. How this one works, you're defining on high level what you're looking for. So we already talked about marketing, but let's do something very different. Let's say chemicals manufacturing, for example. So you know that you are looking for the company that is chemicals manufacturer, but you don't have an exact good strategy yet in mind. So you're providing this high-level definition. You click on generate strategy. And then what it will do, it will translate this high-level definition into a more robust strategy with particular examples that you, of course, can now customize, but it will give you a good starting point. Since we are at the situation where we do have marketing services strategy in our library, let's just use marketing services strategy and apply it in our benchmark. All right, and now let's see if our web search step was completed. So I'll just update the status here and see what we've got. All right, so we now have 133 companies that are ready for this accept reject analysis, and there are some companies that were incompleted and ignored. What that actually means is that the website was not accessible, or the website is under construction, and there are a few other reasons why something prevented our algorithm to analyze them. And the primary reason is the website issue. And you will see them at the later stage under human review, where you will still have a chance to double check those comparables and do the manual decisions around them. But now what I will do is, so we have a strategy, and I will click on evaluate all, and that will initiate the analysis of all the companies that we have in our data set that are ready for the accept reject analysis. So what is happening now is that our algorithm is applying the criteria that you have defined to the set of companies that we have here, comparing those companies to the criteria that we have, and then making accept reject decisions on those companies. And what's also interesting is that we haven't talked about independence criteria specifically. Independence criteria is something that we don't ask you to define every time because we're defining it centrally, but our algorithm is automatically testing for independence every time too. So in terms of the the speed of that step, it takes around also 3 to 4 minutes to analyze 100 companies for the comparability. And as you see, we are already getting the results. So we're now, after a few minutes, already at the company number 32. And let's have a look at how the results will look like. So for every company in our set, we will have the accept reject decision on the products and services comparability, on the functional comparability, and on the independence. So for example, the first company, WPP, was accepted by AI based on based on having or operating with the same service. So it is a marketing services, communications, brand and experience company. Seems to be very comparable to our. And functionally, this company is also comparable. It is a service provider, which aligns with the search profile. But also, this company was rejected because company seems to be not independent. Company has subsidiaries and offices in multiple countries, and therefore it was rejected. And we're getting to the, let's see, I think we're almost done. So we have analyzed most of the companies already. And while we wait, Sven, I'll hand over to you to walk us through the financial data. You actually can see the results here. So we have 19 accepted, 60 rejected, and some are still in progress. But it's good to start looking into the financial data already.
And yes, so let me quickly refresh it so we have the latest data available. So what we see on the top right corner of every page is the range that's calculated for the relevant set. And the relevant set is the set which is relevant at this moment. So now we're looking at the accept reject evaluation step. The most relevant set to show here is the companies which the AI thinks or deems comparable. So those are included in this range. And this really gives you a up-to-date view on how your range is doing and progressing. And if you think like this is not going the right direction, maybe you also see some qualitative reasons why the accept reject reasons don't go as expected, you can change your strategy directly to accommodate those thoughts. What you can do, you can press on this button on each and every page, and you see which POI has been selected for this benchmark. So now we're looking at the cost plus. The time frame where we're analyzing is 2019 till 2021. It also shows for which companies it has data and for which companies it's missing financial data, so it cannot calculate the range. And then finally, it shows the interquartile range with the minimum, lower quartile, upper quartile, median, and the minimum and maximum value. If you're interested, you can also look at the range on a company by company basis. Here it shows the weighted average value, and it also shows the margin per year. And if you want, you can also change to the average instead of the weighted average margin, which doesn't have a big, which generally doesn't have a big impact on the range, but it can be interesting to see if it's worthwhile to switch between those. Well, if you want to see the impact of using a different POI, you can do so by simply pressing a different POI. It immediately will recalculate the range. And if you think that this POI is more appropriate, you can save it. And you can choose various POIs. If some POI is missing, we can easily add it as well. So that's the financial analysis section, which is again available for each and every step. You can also see the range for each and every step. So now here we see what the range was for the completed companies, what the range was for the companies for which the web search was completed, for the accepted, and this also gives some kind of sensitivity check. So if there's a big impact of the decisions that you make, then it's more important to review those decisions in more detail compared to the scenario where the impact is small. So this gives a bit more comfort. Okay. Yeah, let's see if it's already completed. I think it is completed now. So now we have a set of 39 companies that have been accepted or where the AI suggests to accept it. This is just an AI suggestion, and that's really important to emphasize. And we think, or we trust AI to a large extent, but we still believe that it's important to perform a human review as well. And that's why we built this human review step into the tool, where you can have a really nice interaction between you and the AI. So in this step, it shows the AI decision. But if you disagree with something, so if you, for example, think like, no, here the product and services are not comparable, I don't agree with you, you can simply indicate so by pressing. It will then ask you for a manual motivation. Well, I will do the general, very generic motivation, product service incomparable, and then reject it. And now you see that the company is automatically rejected. And of course, the range is updated directly as well. What's also nice to show here is that the selected POI, which we discussed previously, is available in this view as well. So, well, you of course shouldn't let the POI or the margin direct you too much, but if you see like a loss-making entity or an entity that makes, yeah, like the one over here, makes 250% margin, that might be a sign that something is wrong, and that you might want to look at it in more detail. And then finally, so as we said, this is the AI that provided this suggestion. But what we deem as very important is that you can always see how the AI came to this decision. And to make this more, to facilitate this to an extent, we also offer the option to go into the company decision in more detail. You do that by pressing on the company. Here you're presented with a screen that shows all of the information that the AI has gathered about this company. So here you see the AI generated description, the product service description, functional description, with directly the AI suggestion and motivation next to it. What's also nice is that you can see the pages that it has analyzed to come to this decision. You can simply press on it to go there. And even better, you can see how, or you get a screenshot of the page at the time that the decision was made. So this is critical for audit purposes. And you get these really nice screenshots. You can quickly go through them. And that's not all, because we also wanted to show you how the AI came to the decision with like exact quotes from the website to come to that decision. So how you can do that, how you can see this is by pressing on this button. And it will now load the sources that it has used to come to this motivation. And here, so here it suggests to reject this company based on the independence, because it has multiple subsidiaries. And here we indeed see that this company grew rapidly because of large acquisitions, which is generally an indication of non-independence. If the original quote is in a foreign language, you can translate it to English by pressing on that button. Well, here we agree with the AI, so we just support the decision. Now you see that the status of this company changed from AI suggested to human reviewed. And then you're basically done. And well, the idea is that you do this for each and every company in the set to come to a set that's supported by both AI and human reviews. Which brings us to the next step, which is getting these results out of the system.
Exactly. And I think just one more point on the human review before we are done is that you can also consider the review priority that we indicate for each company. So in the human review step, you see that different companies are assigned with different review priority. There are some low priority items, there are some high priority companies and medium priority companies. And our general suggestion is that you would start with reviewing the high priority items that are typically accepted, AI accepted companies, because they will have the most direct impact on your final set. And then you can go through medium companies and then low companies only if you believe that you have time for that. Well, as Sven mentioned, ideally you would review everything, but we just believe that it should be risk-based, and that will allow saving even more time if you just focus on the most important parts. And now it's time to export the results of this benchmark. So we will be exporting a few things here. So we can export the Excel report, which is the first main element. This is something that is available, and this is something that we are getting from the solution. Let me just share the right thing. Yes, so this is an Excel file, pretty extensive one, which contains all of details about all the companies that we were searching for, the descriptions of those companies, etc. We have the AI accept reject results, so something that AI has generated. And then if we will be doing human review, we will also have the human review metrics here in one place. And then the other important part that we've been also talking about in the in this demo is the screenshots and supporting documentation. So here you can export screenshots for individual companies by downloading them, the archives with those screenshots. And then the other thing is that you can actually download all of the screenshots for all of the comparables in your benchmark, which will be a little bit massive, but will definitely have a strong value in the eyes of the client and tax authorities, because you will be able to support each decision and each data in your benchmark with actual screenshot documentation. And that's where we're finishing. And I think we are done in 30 minutes. Congratulations, Sven. We are right on time.
Great job, Borys. Great job,
yes.
AI.
Yes, I think AI handled like 90% of the work in this benchmark. Of course, in real life, you will probably spend another dozens of minutes into the human review, depending on your level of comfort. But for some benchmarks, our customers just take AI results. And of course, in some more challenging ones, they may want to spend a little bit more time on human review. But let's just reiterate on what we have seen. What are the actual benefits? And we have been discussing some of the challenges that we had in the traditional process. And now with using ArmsLengthAI, you can save up to 80% of your time and get extra flexibility with your benchmarking studies, substantially reducing the time that your other team will be spending on it. You can also improve the consistency and quality of the benchmarks. So as you have seen, we defined one strict, robust strategy that was applied to a big set of companies consistently by AI, which was not getting tired and have done the work in 30 minutes. So in 30 minutes, even we with Sven were not tired enough to start making inconsistent decisions, and our fatigue is not that bad. And then if we would be doing the same operation now manually with Sven, we would probably be at company like 10 still, and our documentation and the quality of our decision will start to deteriorate probably.
And our happiness would also not benefit.
Yes, our happiness. And when you see the benchmark, it reduces automatically. And our manager was standing behind us and creating some time pressure for us. And of course, it also was creating audit-ready documentation, right? So we have captured all the screenshots for all the companies. We have a robust decision substantiation, which Sven has demonstrated. So we have quote for every decision. Independence rejected. Here is a quote from the website, or here are several quotes from the website from particular pages that are screenshotted. So it will be very challenging to actually fight in the audit with such a benchmark, because everything is very well documented, and tax authorities will probably just pass on to the other customer who, or the other multinational who doesn't have that robust benchmark. So as a result, you may expect your firm to start making more money out of benchmark. So your margin can improve because you will be spending much less time And at the same time, you may improve the quality of your benchmarking studies and improve the documentation, which will make selling benchmarks or marketing them to your customers or your clients easier. And also generally your customer experience, the customer experience or client experience that they will get from benchmarking projects with you may improve too, because first of all, your iteration speed will improve. So you will be doing benchmarks much faster for them. And of course, the quality that they will be getting will generally improve over as well. And just to confirm or just to share the first experiences that our customers have. So we are working with a firm called TPA Global. This is an international network of transfer pricing professional firm that has started using AI benchmarks by ArmsLength AI since January this year actively. And then that's what they report. So significant reduction in the duration of benchmarks and reduce the costs associated with benchmarking. And then it also increased the availability of employees, enabling them to focus on tasks not related to benchmarking, therefore improving overall both job satisfaction and the margins for the firm. Before, they were spending 15 to 20 hours per benchmark, and now on average they spend 4 to 5 hours, and that includes human double check, human review steps, and drafting the report and issuing it. And at the same time, they have observed error rates reduction over time. So first of all, AI decisions on average were more accurate than humans, and whatever they have seen in AI being suboptimal, they have also seen a significant reduction in those error rates. And all of those are now spotted and eliminated during human review that we have developed specifically for that purpose. And yeah, this is number just from today. We have around 93,000 companies or comparables that were already analyzed with ArmsLength AI, which is a pretty substantial number because on average you would have like 200, 300 comparables max per benchmark. So it means that hundreds of benchmarks were already completed with our solution. And now, closing it out with the practical steps, like I am a transfer pricing advisor. It sounds interesting, like what should I do? Well, the first question that you need to ask is, do you actually do benchmarks, right? If you don't do benchmarks, if you don't have database access and you don't actually do this type of work, then this solution is, well, maybe an interesting and exciting technology, but probably not the one that currently is useful for you. However, if you are considering bringing benchmarking into your practice and start doing benchmarks, this can be an additional argument why it makes sense, because you don't need to create a whole bunch of new team for that. You don't need to hire extra people. It will therefore not create a substantial additional workload for you. And therefore, starting doing benchmarks may be a good business idea. And then the second question is like, how many benchmarks do you do per year, per month? And that will lead you to the answer, do we actually need this technology, right? Because the more benchmarks you do, the higher the impact will be for you. And then what do we suggest? You can now book a demo with us, and we will walk you through and answer your questions that you may have about the technology and how to use it. I will share a link just in a second. You can also get a free trial from us for a couple of weeks. You will get several hundred credits, and you can test the product yourself. You can try applying it to a couple of benchmarks that you have already done, comparing what our solution provides with what your advisors have done already, and see how it actually works. And then, of course, you can pick the right option from what we have currently available. There are several subscription packages or options that we have on our website. The main factor that determines the subscription plan is primarily how many benchmarks or how many comparables you do per year. That's the main factor that drives the different package selection. And I'm again happy to walk you through that in the demo. And to book a demo, you can just go to our website, which is www.armslength.ai, and you'll see a button there for booking a demo. And yeah, I will be also happy to answer any of your questions. And Sven, thank you again for joining me today. It was awesome, very exciting experience. Doing benchmarks in 30 minutes was pretty unrealistic even a couple of years ago, and now it just becomes a reality, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah. Great developments. It's nice that our junior associates won't be bothered with benchmarking this much as we did.
Yes, unleashing them, releasing them, making them free, breaking them free. Thank you very much, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. You will get the recording of the webinar via email, and again, if you want to talk to us, you've got the link.
Thank you.
Thank you.